Well, welcome to Christian Answers. My name is Jeff Short, and today we're going to be covering a topic that I was asked to respond to. It's about a pastor who has seen some dreams, and I have up the article in Charisma Magazine. It's called Brace Yourself, Assembly of God Pastor Shares 3 Foreboding Prophetic Dreams Goes Viral. And I am going to be traveling on the road today, and I'm doing a video in my car, but I wanted to set it up before I get into the car. Let me read a little bit of this article, and it's this pastor right here, and it says, Pastor Dana Coverstone says that he had dreams that predict America burning, hyperinflation ravaging the U.S. economy, and even foreign soldiers on the ground. Coverstone, who pastors Living Word Ministries Assemblies of God in Burkesville, Kentucky, says he's not a prophet, but felt compelled to share his dreams because a dream he had last fall about disease and protests hitting the U.S. came to pass. And so he says, I'm not claiming to be a prophet, Coverstone says in the video, but let's see what happens through November and see if I'm right about this. But I know when I hear God's voice, I know what God's voice sounds like to me, and I know when he speaks, and I know when I have a dream that I know is him. I don't say this to scare people, but I say this to warn people that there are some pretty sinister things coming down the pike, not just for the lost, but for God's people as well. The video posted to Living Word Ministries Assemblies of God's YouTube channel has since been viewed by over 1.2 million times in 2 weeks. So it is a viral, it's up to about 1.5 million right now. Coverstone says his first dream began with a calendar and a white figure that tapped September on the calendar 3 times and then underlined November 3 times. Then he says, I saw Washington, D.C. burning. He describes seeing armed protesters brawling, businesses shuttered, and money flying into the skies and out of the roofs of bank buildings. He saw Russian and Chinese soldiers on the ground in the U.S. collaborating with each other. He says he also saw UN peacekeeping forces. He says he saw no sign of President Trump or leadership in D.C. He says churches and homes were being burned and people were hiding in their homes. In a second dream, Coverstone says he dreamed that hyperinflation would ravage the U.S. economy and that trouble would overtake the U.S. Mint, following by the warning, brace yourself. Coverstone says he had a dream in December that predicted the coronavirus outbreak and protests in major American cities from March to June. On Tuesday, Coverstone uploaded a video to Facebook featuring 2 men from his church who said that they could verify Coverstone told them about the dream back in December. He says that he did not record his dream at the time in December, but that after those warnings came to pass, he felt compelled to record and share his recent visions. I believe we're going to see not just a second huge wave of COVID between September, October, November, but we're going to see major things with the elections, Coverstone says. We're going to see major chaos in the country. We're going to see our troops in cities. We're going to see the protests get even worse. We're going to see buildings burn. We're going to see what can only lead to civil war in this country. Based on these predictions, Coverstone recommends stocking up on food supplies, including alternative forms of currency like silver or gold, and guns and ammunition. He also urged Christians to pray and have a plan, though he did not encourage getting off the grid. If by this time we get to November and nothing's happened on December 1st, you'll be able to call me out and say, Dana Coverstone, you are an absolute idiot and a fool for saying these things. Go right ahead, because I realize I am responsible for what I've spoken. So that's the backdrop of what I'm going to comment on in this video that I shoot in my car as I'm traveling over to the Chautauqua Institution here in New York. And so just wanted to set this up, and I wanted to let you know what I'm talking about. Some of you have seen this video. There are Christians asking about it. It's getting more and more traction on YouTube as more and more Christians talk about it. And as you'll see in my video, I'm not overly impressed with it. And I don't think that Christians should panic. I don't think they should be worried about this so-called prophecy. I don't believe that these events are going to come to pass, and I believe that this man is sincere and he's had a dream, but I believe that he has just had a dream, and that's about it. And we can understand why people have dreams during this time of virus and social unrest. So I'll explain more of this in the car video, so let's watch that car video. Well, welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short today, and I'm just driving back from the Chautauqua Institution today, and unfortunately they have a new policy over there that you have to go through a big process of parking your car and going through the ticket agency and getting a ticket, and then people have to come out, and it's just seems like a big hassle right now. It used to be that you could just drive your car over there during the season now because of COVID-19, and you wouldn't have to go through much of a hassle over there. But it seems like they've changed the policy a little bit, and so there's something going on different that had gone on over there before. And so I wasn't able to just go onto the grounds and drive around, which I wanted to do, and just see the scenery and so forth. So that's okay though. I just did a U-turn and coming back to the home from over there. Well, what I wanted to talk about today was there was a video that was put out a few weeks ago by a pastor in Kentucky, and it's supposed to be a prophecy. It's supposed to be prophetic about what's supposed to be happening later this summer and then into the fall. And the pastor is an Assembly of God minister, a small church, I guess, in Kentucky, and he, I guess, he explains in his video that he had a dream sometime late last year that supposedly was warning him about what was coming up with this coronavirus and COVID-19. Now, he didn't actually say that there was any mention of an epidemic, a virus, or anything like that. So he said that he had an image, he had a vision of a calendar, and then around March, it was hit. A fist or a hand hit it. I think that's what it was. But something to do with March and the beginning of the coronavirus. Although the concept of a virus and an epidemic wasn't included in the dream. So he had a dream about something that was coming up, and I didn't pick up a lot of the details. He said that he shared this with a few men in either a Bible study or prayer meeting or men's group or something. So he shared it with a couple other people. But then he says that when this stuff started happening around the middle of March and we started getting the coronavirus here in the U.S., then he realized, or he felt, that what he had dreamed before and that had made an impression on him before last year was a forewarning of the coronavirus. So he attributed the dream and connected the dream with coronavirus. Then now in his video of late, he says that he's had a couple other dreams, and these are more ominous, and that these are prophecies of something even worse to come. And these are going to come at the end of the summer and into the fall. And now these are the ones that I've been asked to give an opinion about. And so I listened to the whole video, and I have to say that I was not impressed with the dreams, and I therefore don't consider them at this point prophecies. And the reason I don't consider them prophecies is because I didn't see anything in the first so-called prophecy. I didn't see anything in the first dream that was specific enough to help me see that maybe this guy would be credible in speaking about things in the future. I don't think that he built a case for his credibility by simply saying that he had a dream late 2019 and that it was something that forewarned him and was a prophecy about COVID-19. I don't think he made the case strong enough that his dream, or his what he's saying is a prophecy, was credible enough. I think a lot of people have a lot of dreams that can be interpreted all kinds of ways. And I don't even think that he took his dream about something coming serious enough to even tell his congregation. I don't think as a pastor he told his congregation from the front at the pulpit that something ominous was coming in March, because he saw this calendar and so forth. He shared it with a couple guys from a men's group, I guess, or a Bible study or a prayer meeting. But how much of it did he share with them, and did they conclude upon hearing it that, wow, something big's going to happen in March that's going to disrupt the whole country? Did they conclude that? And if they did they take action that would indicate that they really took this seriously? So I don't see any evidence that he took this dream that he had, I guess, in late 2019 serious enough. And I don't see any evidence that the people, or the few people in his men's group, or these guys that he said he told, I don't see any evidence that they took it serious enough to then build on that dream and build on that so-called prophecy to lend credibility to what he's saying now that will happen very dramatically in the late summer and then the early fall. So what he's saying in his second and third dreams, he said he had later after the COVID-19 pandemic, he's basically saying that now he's had two other dreams since then, and that one of them, or let me just give you the gist of the most important part of it. He says that he saw a vacuum cleaner sucking money out of the top of banks in this country. So that would probably indicate that there's going to be some banking collapse, or our money is going to be basically sucked dry. Some big financial meltdown or collapse or something like that. And then, but the most bizarre part of these second and third dreams is that he said that he saw Chinese and Russian soldiers in Washington, D.C., which, if someone just told you that, and it's supposed to be in the context of a prophecy, you would think, well, that would maybe indicate that China and Russia had invaded the United States, had some military operation, which could not be a good thing. So, bad things. So, a second and third dreams were indicating that there was some bad stuff coming our way. And his YouTube website now has gotten, I think it's close to now 1.5 million views. People are viewing this, and they're starting to wonder if this is something they should take seriously as a prophetic warning from God to the Christian world that there's some hard times coming ahead. The weird thing about it was that at the end of all of this, terrible predictions and prophecies, he basically ended up saying that it would be wise to get some food stored up on the shelves and certain things like that, which is what the basic wisdom was already telling us with this COVID-19 pandemic. And I think most people I know have gone to Walmart and have stored up canned goods, some rice, and different things in case there's an interruption in the supply chain. As we all know, that can happen if the truckers are not able to bring the food in to the grocery stores. We don't have food on the shelves. So it's always wise to have food stored up, especially canned food, non-perishables. And of course, we have the famous toilet paper hoarding that occurred. As if you can live on toilet paper for months and months during a crisis. I don't understand that, but that's another topic. But so at the end of all of this ominous prophetic talk, he basically gives us advice that we already had without the prophecies and without this warning. So I don't see any specific advice that we're supposed to do. And in fact, that's probably one of the biggest problems is we're given this information that he thinks is prophetic, and a lot of people are beginning to wonder if it's not prophetic. And yet there is no clear instruction as to what to do, how to use this information. And so if I look at it overall, based on the first dream that he had, I conclude that I think these second and third dreams that he had are mostly just coming from the anxiety and the general uncertainty of the times. Because you have to understand, dreams don't always have to have some profound meaning. Because as we all know, we all dream at certain times. Some people don't ever dream, but most people dream. And sometimes we have a feeling that maybe the dreams mean something. Maybe it might mean more than just something that's bouncing around in our heads. But a lot of times when we wake up, the dreams just don't seem to have any rational sense, and we may remember a little bit of the dream, but then after we try to figure out what it might mean or what it could mean, a lot of times we'll just give up and say, I don't know, this doesn't make any sense. And a few times dreams actually are helpful because they get us thinking in a certain way, and then by thinking those certain ways, then we are helped in some way. Maybe we have a problem we're trying to solve, and then when we're pondering a dream that we had, all of a sudden we may have an insight that helps us understand this solution to a problem. But what is the solution to the COVID-19 problem? Uh, what insight do these prophecies give us? I don't see any real helpful information how to deal with the crisis, the real crisis we are going through, which is the virus, and how to get back to normal as far as meeting in churches and life. What I do see is an ominous prediction of the future that, if you take it very seriously, could really worry you a lot and make you anxious, and still not give you any kind of solution as to what to do about it. So I'm basically at this point thinking that this man's dreams are what most dreams are, and they're just parts of our mind trying to make sense of reality at night, and it's sort of like a house cleaning program. If you think of it as a computer, you can think of a house cleaning program, and you may have different functions taking place for the purpose of clearing out memory and doing all kinds of other things. And that's what we don't actually know. I mean, scientists still don't exactly know what dreams are and what the function of dreams are, but they seem to be a way that our mind brings resolution to things or tries to make sense of things at a subconscious level. So it's all very still mysterious as far as how we understand dreams. So they don't always have to mean something profound, and as Christians we have to resist the temptation to think that every time we have a dream or anytime somebody else has a dream that we automatically have to try to figure out what the dream means because there's definitely something profound there. No, we don't have to always have a dream explained to us, and it doesn't always mean that God is trying to speak through a dream, although he may speak through a dream. And this man's dream could be a prophecy at this point. We're talking 5 months out from the last detail of his dream. And it could be a warning to Christians, but I would say, and if I had to make a bet, I would say no. I would say I don't think there's enough content, clarity. I don't think there's enough solid, credible evidence that the first dream had enough sufficient details to lead me to conclude that, wow, this guy actually knew about COVID-19 before COVID-19 struck our country. Now, I first heard about COVID-19 at the end of January when I was in Washington for the March for Life, and we went out there, and I, on the way out there, heard about this Wuhan flu in China, and I thought that was strange that they would lock down an entire city of millions of people. But I didn't think or realize that it would ever come to the United States a month and a half later, but it certainly did, as we all know and experience right now. But the problem with the first dream that this pastor had was that it didn't even impress him enough to give a sermon to his congregation, or even just tell his congregation from the pulpit, or warn his congregation about what's coming. It didn't impress his men that he had shared this with, whether it was a youth, not a youth group, but a men's group that he was a part of, or whether it was some kind of a prayer meeting or Bible study. I don't see that he himself took his own first dream serious enough to tell us what he did in preparation for COVID-19, and whether it impressed the men that he spoke about the dream to, whether they did anything in preparation. As far as I can tell, there really wasn't anything done special that helped cement this as, wow, he even took it seriously himself. I don't see that. So I'm saying if he didn't take it serious, this first dream, and if the details are not enough to really say, yep, that's definitely, he's talking about COVID-19 and he nailed it, the Lord showed him, I really don't have that feeling that he is actually talking specifically enough to be describing COVID-19. Just a vague general, something's going to happen in March or some time around there. That doesn't seem to me impressive enough. Now, if he had said something about a virus, something about a pandemic, something about closing churches, all kinds of things that we know now happened, big, important things. Wow, if he could have just included any of those, that would have really helped. But I don't see those specifics there. And if you don't have any specifics, if it's all just general, vague things, then you can't use that as the basis for credibility for any other dreams that come forward. So the bottom line on this whole 3 prophecies and the pastor from Kentucky giving us those, the bottom line there is that I wasn't impressed with his first dream. I didn't see that was definitely, no doubt, clear-cut evidence that he had been warned by the Lord that COVID-19 was going to hit our nation. So therefore, when I'm asked to believe his second and third dream, I'm not inclined to do that. I'm inclined to say that this man had 2 more dreams, and those dreams can be explained on the basis of what everyone's going through, and that is uncertainty, anxiety, frustration. We're getting information overload on television, misinformation about this virus. We're hearing about some vaccine being developed and then it's not being developed. We're hearing about this treatment is good for it, and then scientists are saying, no, that treatment's not good for it. And it's a very stressful time for everyone. That someone or a Christian or anyone would be dreaming or having nightmares about this topic would not surprise me at all. And I think that's what's happened. Now, if he's correct, then we'll begin to see some of the things that he spoke about actually coming to pass. But I wouldn't hold my breath on it, because it just doesn't seem to be a credible prediction or a prophecy. And so that's what I conclude about this whole thing, about the pastor's dreams. I don't think it's anything anyone should be worried about. I don't think it's anything anyone should get worked up about. And I don't see that there's anything helpful, actually, in even knowing this stuff, in the sense that we need to be ready for whatever comes our way, and we need to be ready and trusting in God no matter what. Whether it's a virus, or whether it's war, or whether it's finances, we're going to trust the Lord no matter what. We're going to trust Him and look to Him and pray to Him every day and read our Bibles and do the best we can anyway. So that's just what I conclude about this whole third prophecy thing. And what do you think? Put some comments in the comment section, and we'll see you back next week on another edition of Christian Answers. God bless.